So, you need a new printer. Seems easy enough, right? You just pick one. But let's be real, especially here in India, it's a total minefield of confusing specs and, more importantly, hidden costs. But don't you worry, we're going to break it all down, and by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to pick the perfect printer for you with zero regrets.
First though, why does this even matter so much? Well, get this, a mind-boggling 85% of us in India actually buy the wrong printer for what we need. That is a huge number. It pretty much guarantees that most people are just throwing money away either on the wrong machine up front or, way more often, on crazy expensive ink down the line.
And this isn't just some random statistic, you know? It's a real headache for people. I mean, you see stories like this one from Reddit all the time. Someone's thrilled they found a cheap printer, thinks they got an amazing deal, and then, bam, they realize the ink cartridges cost a small fortune to replace. It's the classic printer trap.
So that's the big question, isn't it? How do you avoid falling into that trap? How do you make sure you're in that savvy 15% who actually gets it right? Well, stick with me, because that is exactly what we're going to figure out.
First things first, we have to talk about what I call the printer buyer's dilemma. This is all about that temptation to look at the low price tag on the box and completely ignore the real cost of printing over time. Okay, so next up, let's meet the three main players in the printer world. Each one is designed for a totally different kind of person and a totally different job. Let's break them down. And here it is, all laid out for you. This table compares our three contenders: Inktank, INKJET, and Laser. Now you can look at the pros and cons, but the column you really need to pay attention to is that last one, typical cost per page. That, my friends, is where the real story is. Let's start with the Inktank. Think of the Inktank printer as the marathon runner of the group. It's built for the long haul. If you print a lot, I'm talking 200 pages a month or more for a home office or a small business, this is your guy. Yeah, you'll pay a bit more up front, but the running costs are ridiculously low. Why? Because you're not buying pricey little cartridges. You're just refilling big tanks with cheap bottles of ink. It's a game changer. Then we have the good old INKJET. I call this one the occasional sprinter. These are the printers you see with those super tempting low prices. And look, if you print very, very rarely, like less than 100 pages a month, it could maybe work for you. But, and this is a big but, the cost per page is sky high. Plus, the cartridges can literally dry out if you don't use them often enough.
And finally, the laser printer. This is the office workhorse. These things are all about speed and volume, especially for documents that are just text. If you're cranking out 500+ pages a month, a laser printer is your champion. It's fast, and it gives you super sharp text for a low cost per page. Just don't expect it to print stunning family photos. That's not its job.
Okay, so now you know the three main types. But what about all that confusing technical stuff on the box? Let's decode those specs, because understanding this jargon is what separates a smart buyer from, well, everyone else. First up, you'll see something called DPI, which stands for dots per inch. All this really means is how sharp the print is. And honestly, from most of what we do, school reports, office docs, basic photos, 600 DPI is more than enough. Don't let a salesperson convince you to pay a ton more for a super high DPI unless you're a professional photographer. You just don't need it.
Then there's PPM, or pages per minute. This one's easy. It's just about speed. How fast does the thing print? A basic INKJET might chug along at 5 pages a minute, while one of those office workhorse laser printers can just fly at 40+ pages. Whether you need that speed really depends on how you'll be using it.
Now here's a spec that almost everyone ignores, but it's so important. Duty cycle. The best way to think about it is like the top speed on a car's speedometer. Sure, the car can go that fast, but you wouldn't drive it at top speed all the time, right? Same thing here. If a printer says its duty cycle is 10,000 pages a month, you should really only plan on printing about 10% of that, so 1,000 pages to keep it running well for a long time. And of course, don't forget the essentials. Can it handle the paper sizes you use, like A4? Is the paper tray big enough so you're not constantly refilling it? And a huge one for me, connectivity. USB is fine, but trust me, having Wi-Fi and mobile printing is a lifesaver. Being able to print straight from your phone or laptop without messing with cables is just so convenient. All right, we have arrived at the most critical section of this entire explainer. Seriously, I want you to forget the price of the printer itself for a second. This is where we figure out the real, long-term cost of actually owning and using it. This is the secret to buying smart. Here it is, the simple formula to calculate your cost per page, or CPP. It sounds complicated, but it's not. You just find the price of the ink cartridge or toner. Then, find its page yield. That's the number of pages the manufacturer says it can print. Then, you just divide the price by the pages. So, a 2,000 rupee cartridge that prints 500 pages, well, that works out to 4 rupees per page. It's that simple.
And wow, look at what a massive difference this makes. This chart says it all. Your standard inkjet could be costing you up to 8 rupees for a single page. Now compare that to an ink tank printer, which can be as cheap as 10 paise. Over the life of a printer, that difference isn't just a few rupees here and there. It can literally add up to the cost of a whole new printer, or even more.
So, there you have it. Armed with all this knowledge, you are officially no longer part of that 85%. You are now a printer pro. So let's wrap this all up with a final checklist to guide you straight to your perfect printer match. Before you hit that buy button, just take a second and ask yourself these 5 questions. First, be totally honest. How much do you really print every month? Do you need gallery quality photos or just crisp, clean text? What's your budget, not just for the printer, but for the ink over the next year? Is speed a make-or-break feature for you? And finally, do you need the freedom of printing wirelessly? Your answers will point you directly to the right choice.
And that's really all there is to it. You have all the information you need to make a great decision. So the only question left to answer is, what kind of printer user are you? Are you that occasional sprinter, the long-distance marathon runner, or the heavy-duty office workhorse? Once you know that, you'll know exactly which printer to bring home.